Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that I would finish a 3 hour spectacle made by James Cameron, and the silver lining would be that I fell in love with a female alien antagonist. Thank you so much, James Cameron, for Varang. The unanimous take on Avatar since 2008 has evolved into this may just be the most beautiful spectacle we may have seen in theatres. James Cameron's contribution in the last 17 years in technology in film is revolutionary. I acknowledge it. I respect it. I see it. But can I say the same thing for the screenplay and storyline that still has Sully and Quaritch feuding in Pandora after 3 films? Let's dive deep. What has happened with the advent of social media and the straightforward dissection of films is the sheer ignorance that follows in discrediting the detailing and world building that has gone into making Avatar. After 17 years and hard labor in development of this universe, James Cameron presents us the third film of Avatar with Fire and Ash. In The Way of Water, we looked at the life of Jake Sully, played by Sam Worthington, who is a family man with his wife Neythri, played by Zoe Saldana, and a father of 4 children. Pandora has become his home, and he is the leader of the Na'vi of the forest, and they have equipped themselves in such a way that they are ready to meet the threats head on if the Sky People were to return. The Sky People, or humans, are now in Avatar clones, as after death their memories were stored and placed in these new and more physically abled bodies, and they return to Pandora. They not only come for material excavation but to envision the planet as the future of the human race. Personal vengeance also motivated Colonel Miles, played by Stephen Lang, who wanted Jake Sully to beg and plead for mercy. Sully and his family joined the Mitkaina tribe, learned the way of the water. Quaritch tracked them down. The battle ensued. Sully lost his eldest son in battle. Spider, Quaritch's own son, led them there, not knowing his intentions. On the verge of death, Quaritch was rescued by Spider, but Spider joined Sully and his family, showcasing his loyalty, while Quaritch is assumed to come back, relentless as he is to inhabit Pandora for his vested interests and destroy Sully and his family. In part 3, as they deal with the death of their eldest son, they encounter a new aggressive Na'vi tribe, the Mangkwan clan, well versed with fire and ash, led by an absolutely fine leader, Varang. The Mangkwans have allied with Jake's enemy, Quaritch, as the conflict on Pandora escalates to an insane ultimate battle. I went for Avatar 3 with the sole intention of watching in IMAX 3D, and my god, is it truly meant to be witnessed on precisely this format. I know many of us don't have the privilege to watch it in the same format just because of the dearth of IMAX theaters across India, but to term it as a visual spectacle will be an understatement. However, is that enough? I don't really think so. Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the film so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to watch Avatar Fire and Ash in theaters or not. Already explored beats of screenplay. It's undeniable that the movie from a storyline perspective has beats that are familiar from the first 2 parts of Avatar. Purists of cinema, especially enthusiasts, hate to hear this because they assume it to be a diss to a visionary filmmaker who has made something visually and technically groundbreaking. But it is the dichotomy that exists of most Avatar movie analysis. The world created by James Cameron in Pandora and the level of detailing with the tribes and the interactions with the environment is exemplary. But the conflict ever since Sully assimilated with the Na'vi and became one of them has become straightforward, linear, and predictable. Sully and the conflict with Quaritch, specifically with the existence of Spider, gets increasingly frustrating. There is absolutely no element of surprise left from a conflict POV other than the fact that Quaritch and the humans have capitalistic and imperialistic tendencies when they eye Pandora as their own Earth is crumbling, and Sully has to protect Pandora and the Na'vi with the new threat in front of them, in the case the humans going after what they were already seeking for in the second film, Amrit, which stops humans from aging, but this time accompanied with the Ash people, who Quaritch is simply using for his selfish interests. I must say that this new Na'vi tribe that we are introduced to deserved more screen time because they may possibly be the most dynamic, fiery, no pun intended, wild cards that we have seen in Pandora. As the movie largely focuses on Quaritch and his bloodthirsty journey to cause an end to not only Pandora but Sully and his family too, I believe the Fire and Ash people almost took the shape of becoming a tool versus a tribe we actually got to know. A disservice, as they had so many cool features and elements and their world that could have been explored. Wild attention to detail. The VFX work by James Cameron and his team is absolutely exemplary. You will be blown away by the fact that 95% of the elements in the frame are not real, and that is absolutely insane when you see the embers of fire, you see the flowing river hitting flesh and changing its path, you see it with the micro expressions of the faces, the changes that take place between conversation dependent on how one processes grief, shock or anguish. I kid you not that there are some times where you are essentially on an amusement park ride to Pandora, and the brilliance of the map of Pandora, unlike many worlds of video games, is that there are no limits, and this is both a boon and a curse of the film. You see the frames, you appreciate it, you are mesmerized by it. I was spellbound for what I was seeing on the IMAX screen, but my god was it acting as a hindrance to the momentum of the story. I'll dwell on that a little more ahead, but several sequences, especially the ones involving Quaritch approaching the Ash people for help, the attacks of the Tulkuns to the human carrier ships approaching the Matkeyan clan, and especially the wide shots as Kiri and her little sister observe the carnage are some of the most mesmerizing frames you will ever see in film this year. The problem is that these spectacular visuals could paper over the cracks in part 2, but I think the storytelling really could not compensate for the breathtaking visuals this time. It's only so often that you can see the same story and still make excuses because the director has put blood, sweat and tears on its technical aspects. Running time and corny dialogues. I could excuse The Way of Water to have a running time of 3 hours because it introduced us to a new world and tribe. This led to Sully and the family learning new ways to live, adapting to a new environment, and also introducing the audience to new characters. However, Fire and Ash reintroduces us to the same world where Sully and the family have assimilated with ease, and they call the establishment with the Matkayana tribe their new home. The film does not do a deep dive on the Ash people, as they are introduced as an impending threat. Yet the movie is 3 hours and 17 minutes long, and I think it is because of the subplots that act like fluff in the screenplay. This especially includes the angst that resides within Loak, Sully's second son, who is constantly trying to prove himself to his father, burdened by the guilt for being the cause of his sibling's death. While the conflict between Sully and Quaritch is the core, we often transition to Loak, where this teenager angst often acts as a roadblock to progress to the main conflict. I must say also that you will definitely feel this in Fire and Ash, that the dialogues take the shape of boomers writing for young people. Loak and especially Spider are given such cringeworthy dialogues, trying to act urban with each dialogue being placed with bro or cuz, that it seems like a very forced attempt to be cool. Spider, played by Jack Champion, especially got on my nerves. I'm sorry, I don't want to sound offensive, for he lacks range in his acting skills, mostly wooden even when dealing with deeply emotional scenes, and having forced Marvel quips to break the tension, like, in one crazy scene, he is like, "You can't shoot me, that's right, pendejos," or saying "no shit" in the most earnest scene. It was tough to get invested in the conflict of which he was the central figure when his performance itself was so wooden and coupled with corny dialogues. You end up not getting emotionally invested in the story because of this character. Standout roles and themes. What's the empathetic lens of any viewer when he sees such a beautiful vision come to life on the big screen is that you try to understand the intention of the filmmaker. You acknowledge that this is a labor of love and that it is an extension of his pursuits of deep water exploration, his love for marine biology, his connection to marine life, and how humans and their invasive ways may be causing irreversible destruction to what they call Mother Earth. These themes are relevant as it exemplifies humans and their tendencies to colonize and never stop when driven by their capitalistic needs. I must say, out of all the performances, it is the antagonist that really made me invested into this story. I still can't get over how feisty and goddamn hot Varang, played by Una Chaplin, was in this film.
Control.
I know she's an alien and I might be getting ahead of myself, but those who have watched the film will attest to empathizing with Quaritch, somewhat getting whipped in the process. Speaking of which, Stephen Lang as Quaritch is brilliant in this film, acting as the menace in Sam Worthington's life, who never seems to leave. The film takes the shape of a tale as old as time, of original inhabitants who live in harmony with their ecosystems only for colonizers to snatch away all the peace, for they are driven by monetary greed. It's the way the world we know today has evolved, and this was what was the focus of part 2 of Avatar, making it familiar territory and making everyone acknowledge that the criticism is warranted on how the conflict still remains the same, really making it a bittersweet experience for me, for I loved what I saw. I respected it. I am in awe of it, but the storytelling really deserves an overhaul because it is familiar, linear, and predictable. And that was a video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about Avatar 3 Fire and Ash. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.